Ladies and gentlemen, hear me loud and clear. Today the wait is over. You've been standing in faith. You've been sowing in tears. You've been walking when you wanted to quit. And now God is declaring a shift. Your answer is arriving suddenly. I'm not talking about something vague or symbolic. I'm talking about real breakthrough, real manifestation, and real doors flying open in real time. Suddenly. Delay is not denial. Preparation precedes manifestation. This is a principle that holds true in both the spiritual realm and in everyday life. When we experience delay, especially in the context of prayer or pursuit of purpose, our natural tendency is to assume we've been denied. We interpret God's silence as rejection, his slowness as forgetfulness. But what we often fail to understand is that the delay is not meant to discourage us. It's designed to develop us. When a seed is planted in the ground, nothing appears on the surface for a time. To the naked eye, it looks as though nothing is happening. But beneath the soil, there is movement. The seed is breaking open. Roots are forming. Foundations are being laid. That period of invisibility is not inactivity. It is divine preparation. And when the seed finally pushes through the soil, it doesn't emerge as a seed anymore. It emerges as something new, something strong, something equipped to grow. In the same way, the delay in your life is not a sign that your prayers are being ignored. It is evidence that groundwork is being done that you cannot yet see. God doesn't just answer our prayers. He prepares us to receive the answer, because receiving something too soon can be more damaging than never receiving it at all. A blessing given prematurely can become a burden. So, in his wisdom, God waits. He waits not because he's withholding, but because he's working. We live in a world obsessed with speed. Fast food, instant downloads, next day delivery. But God is not on our timetable. He is not bound by human expectations or pressured by our impatience. He operates on the scale of eternity. He is not trying to impress us with how fast he can move. He is intent on ensuring that what he gives us won't crush us, that it will bless us and not break us. This is why character must be formed in the delay. Faith must be stretched. Trust must be deepened. Pride must be stripped away. Discipline must be developed. It is in the waiting that we become strong enough to handle the weight of what we've been asking for. We don't just want success. We want sustainable success. We don't just want breakthrough. We want it to last. That kind of endurance is forged in the fire of waiting. Think about Moses. He spent 40 years in the wilderness before stepping into leadership. Joseph waited over a decade between the dream and the throne. David was anointed king as a boy, but ran for his life for years before he ever wore the crown. Delay was part of their destiny. It didn't mean they were disqualified. It meant they were being made ready. Because preparation always comes before manifestation. And let's not forget Jesus himself. 30 years of quiet life before 3 years of public ministry. That's a 10-to-1 ratio of preparation to performance. Why? Because the foundation matters. If you want something to stand tall, it has to go deep. A shallow foundation can't support a great structure. The higher the calling, the deeper the preparation. When we learn to see delay through the lens of development, our posture shifts. We stop complaining and start cooperating. We stop asking, why me? And start asking, what's next? We stop looking at the clock and start looking for the lesson. Delay becomes an invitation, not to doubt God, but to draw closer to him, to let him refine us, reshape us, and ready us. Too often, we pray for God to open doors we're not yet prepared to walk through. And in his mercy, he waits. Not to punish us, but to protect us. He waits because he loves us enough not to give us something that would damage us. He waits because he is aligning the people, the timing, the resources, and the opportunities in such a way that when it comes together, no man can take credit for it. Only God can. So when you find yourself in a season of delay, don't assume could be the direct route. It don't mean stillness for stagnation. Something is shifting. Something is stirring. Something is being built. And it's not just what God is preparing for you. It's who he's preparing you to be. Because when the time comes, you won't just receive the answer. You'll be ready to carry it with strength, with clarity, and with confidence. God moves slowly in preparation, but releases suddenly. One of the most misunderstood aspects of how God operates is the pace at which he prepares versus the pace at which he delivers. To our natural eyes, it may seem like nothing is happening, like everything is still and silent, but in the divine realm, things are aligning far beyond what we can perceive. God's preparation is often slow, methodical, and intentional, not because he is limited, but because what he is preparing is weighty, valuable, and designed to last. We tend to crave instant answers. We want the promise now, the breakthrough now, the results now. But God is not interested in giving us momentary victories that fade in a flash. He's after legacy. He's after generational impact. He's after results that cannot be undone by circumstances or opinions. And that kind of fruit doesn't grow fast. It grows deep. The slowness in your life isn't sabotage, it's sacred strategy. There is a divine rhythm to how God moves. First he forms, then he reveals. The forming happens in obscurity, in silence, in seasons where we feel forgotten. But what's really happening is that we're being fortified. Our identity is being solidified. Our motives are being purified. Our roots are going deeper. Because without depth, we can't sustain height. And then, without warning, without buildup, without announcement, God moves suddenly. That's the pattern we see over and over again in Scripture. The Israelites were enslaved for over 400 years, but when God said now, Pharaoh let them go overnight. Joseph endured betrayal, slavery, and prison. But in a single day, he went from prisoner to prime minister. One moment he was forgotten. The next, he was the most powerful man in Egypt. The process was long, but the release was instant. It's not just that God is able to move suddenly, it's that he chooses to. His sudden moves magnify his sovereignty. They remind us that it's not about our timing or effort. It's about his appointed moment. He sets the stage so that when the shift happens, there's no doubt who authored it. The reason he moves slowly in preparation is because he's aligning more than you know. He's not just preparing you. He's preparing the people, the circumstances, the location, and the timing that all need to meet in a single moment. If any piece is out of place, the impact is reduced. But when all the pieces click, what felt like a lifetime of waiting turns into an explosion of favor, opportunity, and breakthrough. This is why you can't quit in the waiting. You can't judge God's faithfulness by what you see in the natural. What feels like delay may just be the space between obedience and overflow. Don't let the slowness of preparation rob you of the anticipation of sudden release. Just because it hasn't happened yet doesn't mean it's not about to. And here's the key. The slower the build, the greater the release. God doesn't waste time. If he's taking his time, it's because what he's building is beyond anything you could have asked or imagined. Sudden answers don't come from sudden beginnings. They come from slow, hidden foundations that have been growing over time. So if you've been walking in obedience, staying faithful when it's hard, pressing forward when it feels pointless, keep going. You're closer than you think. You don't have to chase the moment. The moment is being designed to meet you. You're not behind. You're not late. God is simply building something that can't be rushed. And when it's ready, when you're ready, it will be sudden. Your season of waiting has shifted into a season of action. There is a divine moment when the posture of your life changes, when what felt like standing still becomes forward momentum, when what felt like hoping becomes stepping, and when what felt like delay becomes destiny in motion. That moment is not always loud. It doesn't always come with flashing signs, But in the spirit, there is a clear shift. Your waiting season is over, and now it's time to move. Waiting has its place. In the waiting, God teaches you patience, builds your faith, and strips away what can't go with you into your next season. Waiting is where God prepares the internal so you can handle the external. But there comes a point when the cloud lifts, the command changes, and heaven declares we're to move forward. You have said this shift doesn't mean you have all the answers. It doesn't mean every step is fully mapped out. What it does mean is that hesitation must give way to obedience. This is no longer the time to keep asking, God, when? This is the time to start asking, God, how do I walk it out? When the Israelites were at the Red Sea, they cried out in fear. But God didn't comfort them with more waiting. He said to Moses, why are you crying out to me? Tell the people to go forward. That was the moment when waiting turned into action. The sea didn't part before they moved. It parted as they obeyed. Movement was required. Trust had to translate into steps. The same principle applies now. You've heard the word. You've prayed the prayers. You've waited in faith. But now the Spirit of God is prompting you, act on what I've said. Send the email. Make the call. Start the business. Apply for the position. Write the proposal. Share the risk. The ground that looked like wilderness before is now fertile soil for action. It's important to understand that moving into action doesn't always feel easy. In fact, after a long season of waiting, taking bold steps can feel foreign. Doubt may whisper, what if nothing happens? But that's where faith answers, what if it does? The same God who sustained you in the waiting is the one who now empowers you to walk. And he doesn't give you the green light without already having prepared the road ahead. One of the challenges many people face is not knowing how to transition from waiting to acting. We get so used to holding our breath, so used to endurance, that when the moment of movement comes, we're hesitant. But obedience isn't about understanding every detail. It's about trusting the one who speaks. If God says it's time to act, then it's time, regardless of how ready you feel. Action is where transformation meets manifestation. This is the moment where the preparation starts producing. It's the shift from hidden to revealed, from internal to external, from foundation to elevation. Everything that was happening in silence is now pushing through the surface. This season will require more than passive belief. It will require intentional motion. Not perfection, but progression. Not flawless plans, but faithful steps. God honors action rooted in trust. And while the wait built your capacity, the action will release your calling. If you sense the divine nudge, don't ignore it. Doors are opening that were previously shut. Favor is flowing where there was resistance. Resources are aligning. Relationships are being positioned. This is not the time to hold back. You're not behind. You're being invited to catch the rhythm of acceleration. God is not giving you permission to act. He's giving you a command to move. And as you step out, you'll realize the tools, the grace, the wisdom, and the strength you thought you lacked have been deposited in you during the wait. You're not the same person you were when you started. This is a new season, and it demands a new response action. The blessing is not coming. It's colliding with you now. There is a divine moment when expectation meets fulfillment, when what you've been praying for doesn't just approach. It overtakes. This is not the season of almost, of one day, or of distant hope. This is the season where the blessing you've believed for is no longer on its way. It's here, and it's meeting you head on. It's not trickling in slowly. It's not arriving in fragments. It's colliding with you in full force, suddenly and without apology. When something collides with you, it doesn't give you time to prepare or adjust. It doesn't ask permission. It happens with impact. That's the nature of divine acceleration. It doesn't arrive quietly. It disrupts. And for those who have been faithful, for those who have endured, for those who have continued to sow, even when it felt like nothing was growing, that collision is now taking place. What was once invisible is now undeniable. You've been walking toward it, but what you didn't realize is that it's been coming toward you, too. The breakthrough you thought you had to chase is now chasing you. The opportunity you thought you missed is circling back around. The answer you thought was delayed is suddenly in motion, and it's arriving faster than you can strategize or explain. This is not the time to wonder if you're worthy. This is not the moment to analyze how or why. This is the moment to recognize that divine timing has intersected with your obedience. What God has for you doesn't require striving, it requires alignment. And because you stayed aligned when it would have been easier to drift, the blessing is now meeting you with force, with clarity, and with undeniable favor. This kind of blessing doesn't sneak in quietly. It announces itself. It shifts atmospheres. It creates evidence that can't be denied. People around you will look and say, "How did that happen so fast?" But they didn't see the nights you kept going in silence. They didn't see the prayers, the sacrifices, the refusals to quit. They saw delay, but God saw discipline. And now the blessing is meeting you in public because you honored him in private. When a blessing collides with you, it rearranges things. It accelerates timelines. It forces you to adjust your vision upward. It demands that you stop thinking small. Because this kind of divine release doesn't fit in the framework of your last season. It's bigger, it's faster, and it's heavier than you imagined. But you are ready, not because you feel ready, but because you were prepared in the pressure. The blessing is not showing up casually. It's not slipping in the side door. It's overtaking you. And when God orchestrates a collision like this, it's not just for your benefit. It's so that his glory is revealed through your life. He's using your obedience as a platform to show what happens when someone refuses to bow to fear and refuses to settle for less than what he promised. This is what you've been positioned for. The things you once chased are now chasing you. The blessing is in motion, and it's not slowing down. It's not creeping in. It's crashing into your life, your plans, your space. When the answer arrives, respond with boldness, not hesitation. There comes a moment when what you've prayed for, hoped for, and prepared for shows up. And when it does, your response determines your next level. Too many people miss divine moments not because they weren't ready, but because they hesitated when boldness was required. After all the waiting, all the warfare, all the words you've received, hesitation is not the posture that activates the fullness of the blessing. Boldness, as Das or Son of God, doesn't open doors for us to stand and analyze them. He opens doors for us to walk through them with confidence. When Peter saw Jesus walking on the water and heard the call to come, he didn't hesitate. He stepped out. That single step was an act of boldness that defied fear, logic, and natural law. And though the wind and waves were real, his initial act of courage brought him into the miraculous. The same is true for you. When the opportunity, the relationship, the contract, the assignment, or the idea you've been waiting for appears, you can't afford to shrink back. The enemy would love nothing more than for you to second guess what you've been specifically shaped to step into. But now is not the time to retreat into safety. This is the moment to act in strength, in clarity, and in faith. Hesitation is often disguised as humility, but don't confuse the two. True humility is agreeing with God's assessment of you, even when it scares you. If God says you're ready, then you are. If he says go, then don't delay. Boldness is not arrogance. Boldness is obedience under pressure. It's the ability to say, I don't have every answer, but I know the one who sent me. You don't need another sign. You don't need another confirmation. What you need is a decision to believe what God said and move accordingly. The season of asking is shifting into a season of possessing. And possession requires movement. It requires action that reflects trust. You cannot tiptoe into what God is giving you. You must take ownership boldly. This is why the waiting season was so important. It wasn't just to prepare the answer. It was to prepare you to handle the answer without fear. So when it shows up, there's no confusion. You've been built for this. You've been positioned for this. And now you must move with the kind of certainty that activates the full release of what's already yours. Suddenly is your new reality. Walk in it. There's a shift that happens when you stop living like the breakthrough is far off and start living like it's already here. Suddenly isn't just an event. It's a mindset. It's a posture of expectation. It's the awareness that heaven's timeline doesn't follow natural patterns. What should take years can happen in moments. What looked impossible yesterday can be fulfilled today. And once you enter into that realm, you no longer anticipate slow progress. You prepare for immediate transformation. When God moves, he doesn't always give warning. He doesn't always build momentum. Sometimes he simply declares, now, and everything changes in an instant. That's what he suddenly means. It's not gradual. It's not predictable. It's disruptive in the best possible way. And once you align with that reality, you begin to move differently. You speak with more authority. You make decisions with more clarity. You stop apologizing for walking in favor that others can't explain. Suddenly doesn't mean unprepared. It means accelerated. And the only way to keep up with a suddenly season is to live ready. To be prayed up, positioned, and sensitive to the leading of God. You don't wait for everything to be perfect. You act when the signal comes. You don't debate. You don't delay. You recognize that the rhythm of this season is rapid, and your faith has to move at the same pace. This is the moment where small thinking must fall off. There's no room for old patterns, passive faith, or delayed obedience. Suddenly means what was once hard becomes easy. What was once resisted is now released. What was blocked is now open. And if you're still living like it's last season, you'll miss what's already in front of you. Suddenly is your new normal. Now walk side like it, move like it, speak like it, build like it, expect like it. The wait is over. The doors have opened. The answer is not approaching. It has arrived. This is not a time to wonder if it's real. This is a time to move like it is. What you prayed for, cried for, fasted for, it's here. And it demands a response that matches its magnitude. No more shrinking. No more doubting. No more delaying. You are not stepping into a process. You're stepping into a suddenly. Heaven has issued the green light. The divine clock is struck. Now, so rise up with boldness. Speak with authority. Walk with power. The season has shifted. The weight has lifted. And what once seemed far is now within reach. You're not chasing the promise anymore. You're carrying it up. Every step you take from here must reflect the truth. God has moved, and nothing will ever be the same.